coming to the size of government, he's right. I wasn't too much aware that there is an implicit limitation on the number of cabinet ministers. He said not less than 10 and no more than 19. But since this Fourth Republic, from Rawlings to the present, how many cabinet ministers do we have? Somebody could take us all the way to 120. Okay, you see?
All the ministers together.
And that's, and again, anyway. So what we are saying is that, and I agree with him, the present trajectory for our national progress could be getting us to where we don't want to be if we don't reverse it. So he's talking about basically a constitutional reform. And that's something I wholeheartedly support. Because there are so many contradictions in the Constitution. You are a lawyer, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? So the size of government has been created without due regard to the resources available to back it up. You see, when we created additional 6 regions, it was good for those who clamored for it. And I think by and large, it refers to self-government in some form or shape. But what we forgot was that was going to add to our expenditure. After every census, we go ahead and create more constituencies, right? I hope after this letters, they are not going to come out with that.
No. Well, we are hearing those party people that at a certain level, reasonable citizens don't take them serious, but within their parties, they are gods, so to speak. We're hearing them beginning to talk about the fact that there's a need to even break down some of the constituencies, a lot more, even in Kumasi, the Ashanti region, that you need to break it down a lot more.
Bottom line, to increase?
Yes, to increase the number.
How? Then they will come and say, we need a bigger parliament building, isn't it? No. So the expenditures. State creates institutions at will, forgetting that any institution you create require a piece of the national pie. So for me, I look at all this and wonder, or rather not surprised, that we have borrowed all the way to the ceiling. We cannot even borrow anymore. Now we need a bailout. So I'm saying, in addition to your corruption you made, I think the size of government and the way we operate it in itself is a major source of waste of our resources.
He's saying that we need a ceiling. But at the same time, he seems to sound as though the Constitution has already provided a ceiling, except that we have breached it. To the point that you have, very surprising, and I have not hidden my disgust about this to the president himself, either private or public, that to have somebody like Nana Akufo-Addo, with the background that we all sort of knew of him and the death that he was bringing to the politics, to wake up to him defending over 100 ministers, over 120 ministers, in fact, was very shocking. So he is saying that, he says, it is my contention that apart from regional ministers, the number of central government ministers may not have to exceed 19, as contained in the Constitution. And that this means ministries should also not exceed 19. From his point of view, the Constitution's provision for cabinet ministers should be the limit.
That's what he's saying. And I also have read a statement by a veteran politician, a practical one indeed, Mr. Kojo Mpiani, former chief of staff of former President Kufuor, also saying that if you place that kind of limitation, you are preventing the president from perhaps exercising his office. That's also true. But I believe strongly, and if you compare the number of ministers all over the place, in other countries, a country of this size do not need that number.
Exactly.
The 19 is perfect. You see, and what is even more troubling, Samson, is that we create ministers for one role at 3 levels. Minister of State, a minister, 2 ministers, a deputy ministers, for the same kind of function. And one sits at the Jubilee House.
I think we had as many as, is it 4 for national security alone?
Exactly. You see, and this goes back to the notion of imperial presidency, where a president can create things at will. Because you don't have to go to parliament to seek permission. In fact, any president, if you sleep overnight and you wake up the next morning and feel like creating a ministry for your friend or girlfriend or whatever, nothing stops you from creating that ministry because you don't need parliamentary approval. So again, talking about controlling this, it means that in the new constitution that we should be looking forward to, there will be all kinds of checks and balances in a proper way to curtail what we call the imperial presidency. And I think that's the bottom line of what Mr. Chairman Bonsu, the majority leader, is trying to tell us. So I do agree, and based on our resources that we are even unable to manage, and even the way we are managing our resources is very much influenced by the governance structures we have.